source for the sports gamer.
ESPN video games. So ESPN used to have their own line of video games. There was ESPN NBA, ESPN NHL, ESPN NFL 2K. We all remember those days. Well, for the past 15 years, since 2005 when the deal was signed, I believe. Yeah, 2005 deal was signed, went into effect in 06. ESPN and has had an exclusive license with EA Sports. For a while, they were involved with some elements here there. They were the full branding of the NCAA football series. But when that ended, that series ended for obvious reasons, that partnership ended. And they were only in NBA Live. And NBA Live, as we know, has been an up and down roller coaster of a series since the PS4, Xbox One launched. And even before that, since NBA Live 10, it's been an up and down roller coaster series. Well, that deal with ESPN and EA Sports ended. Now, there have been rumblings that they worked out an agreement and just haven't announced it. I don't know that. I wasn't told anything about an agreement being out or being set for them. But ESPN does not want to not be a part of the sports gaming market. They want to be a part of that AAA. They know they're not likely to get 2K solely because 2K has their own branding with NBA 2K. It's a lot of TNT personalities and Turner personalities that just make it easier for them over there. But ESPN is open and has kickstarted negotiations again with EA Sports to bring full broadcasts into more EA Sports titles. That means ESPN, who now is the home of UFC and starting next season the NHL again for the first time since 2004, they want to have their broadcast package in games like UFC 5 when that comes out, in games like NHL, FIFA, and even the Madden and college football games. Now, it's more likely to get into the college football game. Madden, that team at Tiburon really likes to have their own branding in place. Like that's something that ESPN over these last 15 years has been trying to claw into. But EA has kind of been, nah, no thanks. But I think they had that right to deny and accept, obviously, as part of their agreement. Whereas maybe if ESPN goes, it would be part of the new deal. But the biggest thing that comes out of this is that ESPN wants to be a part of all of these properties. Right now, the only EA Sports property that has a full, legitimate television broadcast package is their UFC property, which uses John Anik and Daniel Cormier and pretty much the same graphics as you'd see on a pay-per-view. But ESPN wants more. FIFA has their Premier League package. ESPN wants to bring in their broadcast package that they use with the MLS and things like that. NHL, EA Sports wants to bring in NHL. They want to try and get these in for the 2022-2023 release cycle. So NHL 23, FIFA 23, Madden 23, all this stuff. Will it happen? No clue, obviously, but talks are in the very, very early stages, not in the feeler stage because they've already had a working relationship, but ESPN is serious about trying to get this done with EA Sports before going on to anything else. So, Jake, with all that, and everybody in the chat, I want to know your thoughts too. What do you think of all of that just throwing information? That was first reported on sportsgamersonline.com/insider.
So one of the things you mentioned was that they already have this deal with ESPN and that the folks that develop the Madden games don't like using, they like having their own Jumbotron stuff. Not Jumbotron stuff's not the right term, but yeah, their own packaging. Their own package. Yeah. I feel like most sports games are pretty much like that, right? I feel like I can think of some of the basketball games that have CBS or TNT, like you say, but I wonder where ESPN even fits in all of that anymore. It's interesting because I think everybody recognizes ESPN as the sports channel still, basically. Obviously CBS, TNT, these networks have their own like sports channels. I just think it's interesting that like how I understand why they have to struggle so hard to get their branding into these games, because like and this is a similar point I feel like I've made about some other things. It's just like, what do you need ESPN on your sports game for? Like a scoreboard can be a scoreboard, right? And like anything can do coverage of a game. I feel like it's a hard, despite the fact that like the first thing I think of when I think of sports entertainment is still ESPN. It is a hard sell for me to want to pay extra money to put ESPN into my game when like I could hire any number of personalities, to have talk about the video game sport, right?
Agreed.
So I think I understand maybe why they're having so much trouble with this, but also why they're so interested in it. Because if they've basically been cut out of all of ESPN's games already, despite having this like deal with them, I would probably want to be back in the pie also. So
yeah, and the thing for me, and a friend of mine on Twitter, when I talked about this being part of the show this week, bro, I kind of agree with him. He said it's a win-win. I think it would be a win-win. ESPN needs to get in touch with younger audiences. What do younger audiences do? Play games. Plain and simple. They play video games. And for the games, if I'm playing a game, or if someone's playing a game and they have the ESPN score bug, they have the ESPN transitions, ESPN stat overlays that pop up, ESPN announcers, it does add that sense of realism that some people look for. Like for me, if you follow me on Twitter, anytime a network debuts a new score bug, I am all over it. I am critiquing it. I'm saying what I love about it. I'm saying what I love the design elements of what goes into these things. So this type of stuff really I'd love to see, and I love broadcasting, presentation, and all that. But this is ESPN's way to stay relevant, I guess, with the younger audience. Is they get in front of how do you do fellow kidsing?
Do you think so though? Because like. And there's actually a lot of good comments on this.
Madden 70 brought up a good point. ESPN also has golf, another new EA game. Agreed. I'm waiting for either 2K or EA on this point real quick, Jay, to get a broadcast licensing, whether it's NBC, CBS, or EA. One of those three, I think, will be another selling point for these games as they start to compete with each other.
Well, yeah, and I feel like that's got to be like ESPN's best shot at this point, right? Is like one of EA's new sports games, like one of the ones that they're one of the non-tenured EA sports games coming up, right? Like EA Golf or as someone mentioned, like certainly that'll be back in EA College Football.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of people have brought up, Fox Sports, another big one. Like ESPN is much bigger than just being a sports stat line now. I feel like what I want, if I want ESPN in the game, is every once in a while when I'm playing, I just want to hear da-na-na, da-na-na, and like that's it. But like that's really a Pavlovian thing for me. Like I don't need that for the game realism. I just think it sounds cool when that happens, or I feel cool when that sound happens.
Agreed. I mean, there's a reason High School Mike, that was my text tone when I first got my first cell phone. I was 17, and I got my first cell phone. And that was the first thing I did was find that. But I couldn't download it because it cost too much money, so I recorded it while watching SportsCenter, and then I made it that. Drew says, get Jim Nance. Hello, friends, for a golf title. Oh, my. You have no idea how awesome that would be. You just load into the master. See, this is where I think EA would do great getting, say, the CBS license. You get, hello, friends. And he comes in, and there you go. And you get that full broadcast for the Masters. And I feel like, getting the Masters, that would be really nice to have Jim Nance. Even if it's just for the Masters tournament in that game, getting Jim Nance to do that. But we can talk about broadcasting and stuff like that in presentation again, that's going to be a topic likely of another episode. But ultimately, before we switch topics, do you have anything else you can think of on this? Or where do you think these go based on the information we currently have?
Well, yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I feel like the biggest thing that works against ESPN at this point is if I think about a specific sport and the personalities around that sport, I don't think I can name a personality who's currently at ESPN. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's kind of the big thing that ESPN has going against it, is that like everything is competing with ESPN now, and all of those sports commentators and sports personalities can be spread out so far apart that like ESPN doesn't really have the same like it doesn't have the same like negotiating power that it had maybe 5 or 6 years ago when it was still the biggest like collection of people who talked about sports. So like I do think I still believe that like if ESPN's gonna be like the broadcast package for an EA game, especially, it's probably gonna be one of the upcoming EA sports games. Yeah, one of the non-tenured EA sports games, one of the non-yearly ones.
I could see that being a big get for the ESPN for EA Sports College Football. That could be a huge coup for them.
Because and again, like, this is all anecdotal because this is all personal, but like that one of the few things where like I think about specifically ESPN's coverage is still college sports. So like
100%.
So yeah, I think college football is I think if ESPN's gonna get locked down one of these, it's probably EA Sports College Football. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's just so many non-ESPN options that like if you're ESPN, how do you even like you have less and less to leverage now, and the more that time goes on.